There are so many skills needed to be a good police officer. So many. But these 5 are ones, in my opinion, that are absolutely crucial. And whether you're a new police officer or a senior officer, or heck, someone interested in being in policing, you're going to want to watch this video. And the first skill that I believe you must consistently work on and improve on, because we can never be perfect, is communication skills. That's my first one. You must have good communication skills, which doesn't necessarily always mean that you are the one talking in an effective manner to somebody. I'm not knocking that. But one thing we forget, myself included, is that part of communication skills is listening. Active listening means that the person has your undivided attention. And I'll be the first to admit, patience is not one of my strong points. But I'm aware of that, and I have committed myself to constantly working on it. And when a person knows you're listening, they feel valued, and therefore they will be more willing to talk with you. In my opinion, that's what I've observed. That's what I've gained throughout the experience in law enforcement. But there's so many other things when it comes to communication skills on top of listening. You know, that's respect, that's empathy, varying your tone of voice. But communication skills is, in my opinion, the number one thing. But I've also seen police officers who thought so highly of themselves, they didn't care what anyone had to say. All they knew is when they arrived, they just expected people to bow down to them. I know, I'm going to be struck down by lightning for saying all this. But always seek to grow in communication skills. The next thing is decision-making skills. You're being called to make a decision to help solve a problem or to stop someone. You just have to be able to make decisions. And unfortunately, I've seen police officers who have a habit of analysis paralysis, where you think so hard into something, you just can't make a decision. And am I perfect? Heck no. I've made decisions before where it's like one time I pulled up at a larceny suspect and he was on a bicycle. I got out of my car and then he took off riding on the bicycle. And for some reason I ran after him for a little bit thinking I could do some heroic dive and catch him. I shouldn't have ran after him in the first place. Should have gotten right back in the car and kept my eye on him. But sometimes you're going to make the wrong decision about things, but you do have to be careful because you can't get people hurt. You can't get people killed. Negligence and failure to act is definitely not an excuse, but you have to be able to take the lead and make good decisions. So I advise junior officers to listen to the senior officers who know what they're doing very well and listen to how they handle things on the radio, what kind of decisions they make on calls. And then for senior officers, we know that we're never going to be perfect, and we're always going to be learning as police officers because you're never going to know everything. If I heard a police officer say, "Oh, I know it all now," I wouldn't trust him or her at all. In my opinion, a police officer who does not seek continuous training is a liability. The next thing is you must be solution-oriented. I really believe that's a huge thing. Like, you always have to be thinking, how can we fix something? And that is an essential part of decision-making, but it's not always about making an arrest. It's not. And by the way, threatening to make an arrest, that doesn't work anymore because people know that by the time you get them booked into the jail, you're not even done with your paperwork yet, and they're out the door. And I've also seen officers get wrapped up in details that don't matter, and they just talk with these people. I'm like, what is going on? You've communicated why you're there. The person's cooperating. And yet we're just on this endless conversation. Let's get to a solution because they might get themselves worked back up if you don't talk about a solution. Some will disagree with me on that. The next thing is physical stamina. Unfortunately, so many police officers are out of shape. And there are some that I didn't trust because I didn't believe they could physically meet the requirements of the job to be able to help protect me. And when I worked as canine, I would run tracks with the dog. Like, the dog would sniff out where the suspect had run, and I would start with backup, and we were running, following the dog. And next thing I look back, I'm the only one because the officer had gassed out. Sometimes not even 5 minutes into the run. Plus, when crap hits the fan and an officer has to physically exert themselves, if they haven't been working out, then their body doesn't know how to handle that kind of physical stress, and therefore they can get stressed out up here in the mind, and then they just become all discombobulated, and they can totally lose control of their thinking pattern where they result to that lizard brain and not that human thinking brain, and then it can go downhill from there. Plus, physical fitness helps people cope mentally and physically with stress, and policing is definitely a stressful job. Now, believe me, I'm not on my high horse here. I have to work on this stuff continuously, but overall, I know I've done a dang good job of staying in shape throughout law enforcement and in life. And you know me, if you've watched my videos before, you're going to hear me say it again and again and again. Police officers must train martial arts, whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, MMA, and have enough tools in their toolbox when it comes to techniques that are instinctive and not something they have to think about while the action's going down. No. It has to be instinctive, and you have to have enough physical stamina to be able to control the person with that technique so it doesn't get out of hand. Safety is paramount, and having physical stamina can help your tactics as a police officer. Last but not least, a growth mindset. And this is where I'm really trying to speak to fellow veteran officers, where we get kind of in this pattern of, I'm comfortable where I am, I've been through enough, so I'm comfortable. What's the need to grow? Here's what a growth mindset does. And a growth mindset, in my opinion, helps police officers because you are comfortable with the fact that you're never going to know everything, and that you always must continuously seek to learn and become better as a person, so that you can do that much better for the public. Plus, also, I've just seen police officers who have become just downright miserable, thinking that the job defines them, and if the job's not going very well because of stressors and demands of it, then they think that they're stuck in a rut and can't get out. That's not a growth mindset. That's a fixed mindset, and that's kind of taking on the victim mentality. I'm not saying I've never been there. A lot of what I talk about in my videos is because of mistakes I have made. And it's like T. Harv Eker said, like, every master was once a disaster, but I will never proclaim to be a master. That quote meant a lot. So having said that about the growth mindset, you can't just watch this video and not do more about it. So click here for your free guide on how to mentally survive policing and the stress and demands of it, and click right here to get more training on this channel. Take care of yourself, and may God bless.